Hello again, fellow World of Warcrafters. I'm back with another video featuring some Discipline Priest commentary. This time we'll be doing Mythic Blackhand. The last video I did was Blast Furnace, which was a very steady output of raid-wide damage, and we used the 4-piece with lots of Prayer of Healing to help combat that. For this boss, however, we need to change our healing style quite a bit to deal with burst damage. The burst damage in Phase 1 is very high, very intense, and it's over very quickly, so spamming Prayer of Healing is not going to get the job done. Instead, we will be prioritizing mass power word shielding beforehand to deal with the burst. You might notice I don't always Prayer of Healing and Cascade as soon as I pop Archangel, and that's indicative of the healing style change that I just mentioned. I'll also be pausing quite a bit in Phase 1, and then we'll go through it together and watch it in real time, so we can really take a close look at what I'm choosing to do with my globals, because in burst situations like this, I believe that you can really optimize your rotation like I have here. There's not a lot of time to be healing. You heal for maybe 6-7 seconds at a time, so every global counts within that time period. Something I didn't mention in the last video is how to heal effectively by groups, so we're going to concentrate on that a little bit more this time. What that means is basically if I can get a power word shield off on the entirety of group 1 and the entirety of group 2, I'm going to want to use my enhanced Archangel Prayer of Healing on a different group, group 3 or group 4. It doesn't really make much sense to shield an entire group and then give them another shield with your Prayer of Healing. That's really just over shielding the same group, and it doesn't really do that much effective healing, especially when you have 4 groups to worry about. So let's roll the video here and look at some of my strategies in Phase 1. So you'll notice that I was away for a ready check at first. That's because I was uncomfortable with the amount of evangelism stacks I had, and I made my raid wait an extra couple 10 seconds, and you know, that's fine. I'm really going to maximize my healing by going into the fight at high evangelism stacks, and 10 seconds is worth that wait. So here we see I've already used Power Infusion going into shielding. With Power Infusion, I was able to heal, pre-shield rather, all of the melee, all of group 2, all of group 3. We have the campfires coming down. We're going to pause the video here. You'll notice that I had 3 groups pre-shielded, and the first campfire has already landed. We have a fox running, and I used my enhanced Archangel Prayer of Healing on group 4. So effectively, I've already shielded groups 1, 2, 3, and 4. You see I have a Cascade in the mix right here. Cascade, again, excellent AoE healing tool. This footage was taken after the Phase 1 nerfs, so you'll notice after I unpause the video here, I also do a Prayer of Healing on group 3. Maybe it's not needed after the nerfs, maybe it is, but the point is that I was used to lots more raid damage than was actually going out, so maybe I overhealed a little bit. If you are struggling with mana, especially in Phase 1, maybe you can choose to not get the extra Prayer of Healing out and be just fine. So we'll unpause the video, run it here, do some spot shielding at the end here, just your low players, make sure that they don't get gibbed by the last campfire at all. And we go into some smites to build evangelism. You'll notice my Archangel was off cooldown there, and I only had maybe 3 stacks of evangelism, so I rushed the Archangel in order to start pre-shielding immediately. There's not a lot of time here. We're going to pause the video again. So there's not a lot of time between the massive demolitions for you to build your evangelism stacks. You need to be very conscious of how many stacks you have when your Archangel's off cooldown. You'll notice that I used my Archangel pretty much right as soon as it was available, and I was able to shield groups 1 and group 2 effectively. I did not have Power Infusion this time, so unfortunately group 3 did not get pre-shielded. I would not have had time to pre-shield Group 3. They would have expired by the time the massive demolitions hit, so I only did Groups 1 and 2, and then I did my Enhanced Archangel Prayer of Healing. You can see it's about to finish on screen right there. It's on Group 4, and you'll notice that Group 3 needs some love, so we're going to send out our Cascade for some raid-wide healing, and then we're going to finish our AoE rotation with another Prayer of Healing on Group 3. We can see already that they're the group that is going to need healing. We don't have a lot of options here. We'll run the video. Prayer of Healing is our best option to deal with that, and then we go into spot shielding at the end here, make sure nobody dies. Here we use a raid cooldown, so I can effectively Clarity of Will a tank. I can sneak that one in there. And Archangel at 5 stacks, again off cooldown. Go straight back into pre-shielding Groups 1 and 2. Same deal here, we're going to get the Fox and Prayer of Healing Group 4. Roll out our Cascade for some AoE healing. Prayer of Healing again on Group 3 because they need the extra love, they didn't get the shield. Drop our barrier, make sure the tank gets gripped. You'll see a revival there that was planned. And then we're going to get ready for Phase 2. So, Phase 1, our basic healing rotation was to keep Archangel up and ready at all times. That's, again, your most important spell as a discipline priest is your Archangel. The better you become with using your Archangel, the better you will become at playing Discipline Priest. Our strategy for the burst damage was to get out as many shields as possible beforehand and use our AoE healing concentrated on the groups that we did not power word shield afterwards. You'll notice here on the meters, it might be a little hard to see, but I did 87,000 HPS. I'm at 87k HPS for Phase 1. That's very high. My other healers are more than capable of playing their classes, but because I'm a disciplined priest, I managed to heal so much, they just can't really compete with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back and watch through Phase 1 in real time. So let's do that now. I won't pause the video. You guys can see what it looks like in real time, see how fast it is, and really concentrate on the rotations that I talked about. Concentrate on watching how I keep up Archangel, where I sneak in my penances, and how to effectively pre-shield and AoE heal. Make sure we get our pre-pot off here, hold our Archangel, and we'll go ahead and use it now. Get our pre-shields off. One thing that I didn't mention is that if you start to pre-shield with your Archangel right off the pole, your shields will actually expire before the first campfire hits, so you need to wait a few globals beforehand. Otherwise, you'll just be shielding people, and the first 3 or 4 people you shield, their shield will expire before they take damage, and that's not good. So here we are in real time again. You'll notice the Archangel use. Get all of our pre-shields off. And right here, during the demolition, I actually sneak in 3 stacks of Evangelism. I know that our Fox is coming, and I'm going to be... I already pre-shielded the groups that I wanted to pre-shield. Groups 1 and 2 were already done, so I went ahead and prepared for my next Archangel, and you can see how important it was. My Archangel comes back off cooldown pretty much right when I hit 5 stacks, so if I didn't sneak in that Penance and Holy Fire, then I wouldn't have had 5 stacks when my Archangel was ready. So here we are on the last one. It's going to be my job to drop a barrier and life grip on this one. So as soon as I get through my rotation, I pretty much favor the mechanics in favor of actually doing some more spot shielding. I knew that we had a revival coming up, so that was fine for me to do, especially because they're relying on me to deal with the mechanics. So right here we're going to go into Phase 2. Phase 2 is the reason we took Clarity of Will. Phase 2, the balcony adds, the balcony group, and the tanks are going to be taking the most damage here, and it's pretty much all single target damage. So if we can help with that by negating the need for a healer to go up on the balcony, that's going to be great. There are a lot of guilds that will send a healer up on the balcony groups, and we actually do send a healer up on the very last balcony we clear because we send DPS to both sides, and I can't really shield multiple people all at the same time with effective enough shields that they don't need a healer, so we do end up sending a healer up on our last balcony group. But anyways, the reason we take Clarity of Will here is so we don't have to send healers up. Each balcony we're just sending one person up, with the exception of 1 or 2 balconies, so we can really push the boss damage. The reason I mention this and pause the video here is because on the drop down we're going to have our Warlock demonic leap over to the balcony as the first set of ads spawn. A lot of groups will do this, but I'm not sure if a lot of groups will have their Discipline Priest pre-shielding like I do. You'll notice that as we phase here, we get our Devotion Aura, and I am pre-shielding best I can on our Warlock, and as we drop down, the Clarity of Will shield actually expires before the entire thing is even used. So he actually ends up taking no damage on the balcony. A lot of guilds I see on Blackhand, their Warlocks might dip down to 30-40%, and they may have to concentrate on their own HP pools instead of dealing with the ads effectively and focusing on their DPS, and that's something that I don't like as a healer. I want the DPS to be concentrating on DPS. Let me worry about their health, let them worry about the DPS. So let's roll the video here into phase 2. I will be pausing the video again at several points, and I will go through it again in real time after I'm done with everything. So going down here, we're going to basically just take care of mechanics. We're going to be soaking, clearing the area of all this fire. You'll notice that I don't have a lot of mana, so one thing that I did was I used Power Infusion with Mindbender. It's a great way to get mana back. And I also used Mass Dispel under my Power Infusion buff. Power Infusion reduces the mana cost on all spells, and Mass Dispel is one of your most expensive spells to cast, so I saved quite a bit of mana by using Power Infusion with the Mass Dispel there. So you'll notice here we'll hit pause. Oops, sorry about that. Let me track back through here. Alright, here we are. There's the Mass Dispel. So we'll hit pause here. The right side of the screen there has the man, I forget what that add-on is called. The Angry Assignments add-on, there it is. The Angry Assignments add-on, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 listed there. Those are our balcony teams. So Ruliet was the Warlock, he did the first one. Moom is the Druid in Group 2, he's going to be doing the second one. So as soon as I Mass Dispel, as soon as the Dispel portion of Phase 2 is taken care of, I need to be noticing when the smash is coming up and start pre-shielding for that. So here, we'll roll the video. I actually Power Word Shield even a bit early there, but I start to Clarity of Will on the tanks and on the balcony person. You'll see the smash is in 5 seconds and I get a mark, so I have to go out of range, but that's okay because I've already pre-shielded that Druid by thinking ahead to the balcony group. If the Druid was not pre-shielded in time and I was just going to maybe pop a Power Word Shield on him as he was smashed, then that would not have worked. I was out of range of him, like I said, taking care of mechanics, so the fact that I was able to pre-shield him beforehand, that's very excellent. That's what you should be aiming to do. Clarity of Will has a very long duration on it, so you can definitely afford to stack it early. Here we have our third balcony group coming up already. They come very fast. You need to be prepared with something like Angry Assignments so you know who to be shielding at what time. You can see the smash on the timers there is in 3 seconds, so I'm going to start shielding the third smash group, which is Bad News Bears and Mergen. So you'll see I already have one on Bad News Bears there, and now I'm going to build one on Mergen, get a power word shield off on Bad News Bears, and I know Mergen has a large defensive up for this one, so I favored the monk instead of the paladin. And then we go back to shielding our tanks. You may have noticed there for the second time that I have popped a bomb on myself. A lot of people will tell you not to pop the bombs because obviously it's going to do significant raid-wide damage and put a debuff on everyone that gets slagged. However, we noticed in our attempts that a lot of the bombs got in our way with dealing with mechanics, so the 2 bombs that I popped, I noticed that nobody was standing near them, and there wasn't any significant raid-wide damage going out because our balconies were being cleared on time. So I went ahead and popped those bombs myself, and nobody else took damage, and I cleared the area effectively. So here we have our 5th smash coming up. This is going to be the last balcony group we're going to do, so it's important for us to get these shields off on time. I'm shielding the Feral Druid in group 1 there, making sure the tanks are nice and stacked up with their shields as well. You can see the tanks Pandens and Dayrid. Pandens has a full Clarity of Will on him. Dayrid has the Weakened Soul debuff, so we're making sure to really concentrate our healing on the tanks there and the balcony groups only. There is not a lot of raid-wide damage going out as long as your balcony groups are clearing on time, so you can really let your other 3 healers deal with the raid-wide damage. It's very minimal. They're very well equipped to do throughput healing, and you are very well equipped as a discipline priest to do shield healing, so you really want to concentrate on your job, which is shielding the balcony groups and shielding the tanks. So let's finish up here with phase 2. You see I got both shields on the Feral Druid. She gets smashed up, and neither of the shields actually get used on the smash impact, so she has probably close to 300,000 worth of shields up there to deal with. Near the end of phase 2 here, we're done with balconies. We're not sending any more balcony teams up. The boss is at 40%, he's 10% away from phasing, so really all we need to focus on is maybe getting a little bit of mana back. You can see I'm very low on mana there. I've used a power infusion with my Mindbender again, very effective. Giving your Mindbender haste, you get lots of mana back from a hasted Mindbender. So the rest of the fight in phase 2 here, we're really just concentrating on healing the tanks. You can see Clarity of Will spam on Pandens and Dayrid. I throw out a little bit of raid healing on the Warlock there, not a big deal. He was low, so you can afford to single target spot heal as needed, but most of my healing, including penances, are going straight into the tanks. The Blackhand tank is tanking the Shattering Smashes solo, so he's going to be taking quite a bit of damage. That's going to be one of your big priority targets here. So we phased into phase 3. Let's go back and watch phase 2 in real time so you can see exactly what I was talking about with all of the healing strategies that I used. So, okay, here's the drop down, and we'll watch phase 2 in real time. Really concentrate on the balcony groups at the beginning. That's the most important part of your job here as a discipline priest. You want to make sure the balcony teams go as smooth as possible. The players that we sent up, they did have very good self-healing and self-sustaining cooldowns. Druids with Nature's Vigil and all of their defensives, etc., etc. They can pretty much handle themselves up there, but in order to make it easier for them, we pre-shielded, and they didn't even have to worry about healing themselves up there. So here we go into the second smash with the Druid. I had to run out of range there, which is acceptable. You'll notice one of our healers is using a channeled mana pot. Again, phase 2, not really a lot of healing going on. A lot of tank damage, a lot of balcony single target damage, yes. A lot of raid damage, no. So you'll notice I even let my enhanced Archangel buff expire. I'm really starved for mana here. Casting a Prayer of Healing is going to be fairly expensive, and like I said earlier, we just don't need the AoE healing. We need lots of single target healing, lots of focus shields, so that's really all that I'm doing here. I don't care about losing the HPS from the AoE healing. Really all my job is to make sure these single target priority mechanic people that deal with mechanics, make sure that they stay alive. We get a mark here, take care of the mechanics, make sure we hide behind the Siege Maker, and there's the smash that goes up. That was smash 4, so here we are on smash 5. You can even see on my raid frames, oh, just disappeared there, but one of the druids in group 1, he was successfully shielded with both shields for smash 4, even though I did have to go out of range. So that was pre-planning on my part. Make sure that you shield them well in advance. Like I said, the duration's very long on Clarity of Will. You can afford to start stacking that very early. So here we come to the end of the phase again. Like I said, really concentrating on tank healing. The Siege Makers, there's going to be 2 of them that are being tanked by 1 tank, and he's also going to be tanking Blackhand as well, so he's going to be tanking 3 very hard-hitting things all at the same time. It's pretty much up to him to manage his own defensives. I know that our tank in particular saved Shield Wall for when he had to tank all 3 at the same time, but anything that we can do to help make it easier on him is going to help our entire raid in the long run. And basically what this means is just keep the shields rolling on him. It's very, very boring. It's not a very engaging play style here at all in phase 2, but that's what it takes to kill the boss. This was a very, very clean phase 2. We didn't lose a single person. No one really dropped low at all. And that was largely in part due to everyone doing their jobs. And as a disciplined priest, your job is to keep the tanks alive, especially here in phase 2. So here we are in phase 3. Not actually going to pause the video in phase 3 because it's fairly straightforward. You'll notice I get my channeled mana pot off with a fox. You can actually move while channeling your mana pot. It's kind of a lesser known trick, but you can pretty much do anything during a fox. You can mount, you can change your spec, you can drink your mana pot. So I went ahead and did the old butt slide there with the channeled mana pot during a fox, and now we're going to do our basic AoE healing rotation like we talked about in the Blast Furnace video. We're going to use our enhanced Archangel there, you just saw went off. Our Cascade is coming off cooldown, our Power Infusion is coming off cooldown, so we're going to go ahead and rush to 5 stacks of Archangel. We're going to use all of the things I just said. So we have our Archangel here with our increased healing. We used our Cascade within the buff, we used our enhanced Archangel within the buff, and now we're going to go to spot shielding. So again, like I said in the previous video, you want to be spot shielding people that you know are going to be taking damage. These are going to be people with bleeds. Anyone who has a bleed, they're a great target to power word shield. That bleed is going to keep ticking until the end of the fight, so you can definitely power word shield them and get full use out of your power word shield. I personally would recommend saving barrier until near the end of the fight like I did here. I used it at about 8%. The reason for this is because you have probably about 9 ranged by that point with the bleed on, and you can get all 9 of those bleeds with reduced damage. So you see we lose our tanks here. It's not very pretty. It's kind of a race towards the finish, but we did so well keeping everyone up at the beginning of phase 3 and near the middle of phase 3 that the end of phase 3, which is just a race for the finish, that was very easy for us. We killed the boss with several people alive, lots more than I've seen other guilds do it with. Lots more than we've done it ourselves in the past. And very clean kill. So there you go. Hope that helps. And tune in for